What's up, y'all? It's Junebug. I'm gonna show you how to Texas rig, wacky rig, and drop shot rig. We're gonna start with Texas rig and move down the line. So to Texas rig, you need a bullet weight, standard bullet weight, any type of worm hook. Looks like that, or that. And you obviously need your worm of some sort. This is a zoom trick worm. And cut the line off of this. This lure, red rattle trap, has been slaying fast. So take your bullet weight and you thread it through with the cone part. You put the line through the cone part first. So the tip of it is this. Put the line through there, and it comes out this other side, the wide side. You slide that down your line. You can choose to put a bobber stop above the hook, but I choose not to because, it doesn't really matter. So then I'm going to tie a polymer knot, and you want to take some line, and there's a couple ways to tie it. I just make a small loop in my line, if you can see that, and I stick it through the eye of the hook. And some people just take it. See, that's 3. And some people just take it and then stick it through and then stick it back through. But you don't have to do that. You can just make a loop to do it. And so now you have your loop through the eye of the hook, and you take your loop and you make an overhand knot. It's easy if you can do it properly. This line is being difficult. Once you get it, you'll have this knot. It looks like this, or this loop. It's a big loop, and you take your loop and you stick it around your bait, your hook, anything that you're doing it with. And this knot is very important. You don't have to use this knot in this one, in this Texas rig, but it's a strong knot. It's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. Lip the extra. Make sure you throw your line away. And now you take your worm. And if there is a flat side, this is a trick worm, so there is a flat side. It's the green side, and the other side is motor oil color. And you take it and you stick the point of the hook into there about, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch or so, about like this. So then you slide that up. So it looks like this, and you take it like this, and you kind of mark it with your thumb or your finger where you're going to stick it in. You penetrate there, and then you have it almost done. You could leave it like this, but I take mine and I stick the hook point right back into the worm, so it's weedless. So, and then you have your Texas rig. It's very easy. You can catch a lot of fish on this. I would rather use a smaller weight, but I'm not, because this is the first one I pulled out. So then, I'm going to save just a little bit more line. You can slip the weight back down just a little bit, and then just cut it at the worm, or at the head. You want to make sure the worm tip is covering the eye of the hook. So you can't see the eye. If you pull that up, you can see it. It just gives it a little bit better of a presentation. So now to the wacky rig. There is multiple ways to do this. The general idea is to just take your Cinco or stick bait of any kind, take it, and you take your hook that is like this. You can even do it with just a hook without the weight. And take it. And you just tie it on. So another knot to use is I call it a fisherman's knot. It has many names. So you take it, and you stick the line through, then you take it, and then you twist this 6 times or more. And it's not the easiest knot, especially when you're using baits with lots of hooks, like barbs and stuff. I mean, not barbs, treble hooks. So then you stick it, so you have the twists, and you take your tag end, which is this end that's cut, and you stick it right through that hole that is left. So there's a hole at the bottom right here, not the hook eye point, not the eye of the hook, just the loop you've made. You can wet your knots, but it doesn't, I don't wet them, but you can. And so you kind of want to find the middle, which is about it. And you just take it, it's just easy. Stick it through, like that. Now there is another way to do it. And you have to have a special tool. And it's kind of difficult to do. But if you have the special tool, you can kind of save worms. You can save worms a little bit better. Because once a bass hits it or it gets stuck in weeds, then the worm is kind of just useless. It'll break in half. So take it, and you can use the same hook. You take your worm, you have this little, it's called the wacky tool, and it's got a little nail here or some sort, and you just slip the O-rings over that nail. So you take it, I think it's a little bit better to do this first, actually. You take the O-ring and you just slide it down almost to the end. And you take the worm, figure out the middle point, which mine's about there. You stick it into that point, and you just roll the O-ring off and onto the worm. So now you have this little black O-ring on your worm. So take your hook, and you can slightly push down your worm and then try to stick that in there without hooking your worm. If you do, it's okay. Yeah, okay. So there you have it. That's the wacky tool way of doing it. But that's it, and it kind of just floats down. Well, it'll float down like this, kind of. It's a very good rig, I should say that. And to work it, you just pop it off, twitch it, pop it, and it'll be pretty good. I wouldn't recommend it for bed fishing. I'd recommend a Texas rig. It would work also. And you want for bed fishing, you want a very bright colored worm, like pink or chartreuse, possibly a red. So, now here comes the drop shot rig. I'm going to show you two ways to do the drop shot rig. I recently caught my PB on it. It was a 7-pound bass. So, what you can do is you can take a little hook like this. Little hook. And I'll show you another way to do it. And you take your line, you stick it through, make sure you have a lot out. Stick it back through the eye. And so, you have the knot again. And you can do that this way with the smaller, if the loop won't go through the eye, you can do it like that. So you want to make sure you have tons of extra line. Like so. So you have a big loop. You need a big loop for this because you'll have a weight under the hook. So you take this and you do the same thing as you did with the first pollen, as I did with the first pollen knot. You just want to make an overhand loop, overhand knot. I cannot talk today. So you take it and boom. You have it just like that. See, a lot of people say, oh, Western knot, it'll make it last forever. But to be honest, I change out lures more often than that, so. But you can choose to wet your knot before you tighten it down all the way. And there is 2 types of drop shot weights. So the first type is kind of just a little ball. And they have these little clips on them. So what you can do is you have your excess line now, and you just kind of put it in like so to the big point, and then kind of pinch it through, because that will hold your line properly. But you could do that, it'll hold it, because nothing's gonna be pulling on your weight. But what you can do, just for the extra safety of it, is you can just spin it around a couple times and then stick it through like a mini fisherman's knot, just for the extra safety of it, so it won't come off, and it'll be good. If you do it correctly. So you have your, oh no, okay. So you're supposed to run the excess, you're supposed to run the tag end back through the hook eye, so it'll make it stand out straight. But I forgot about that, so I'm gonna do it now. So you run your tag end back through the hook eye, and it'll make it stand out straight. So you have the Canon, you have the little ball lead weight, and then there's also looks like a little heel, and it has the same little clamp at the top to hold your line. So stick that through there, pinch it down. Again, it will stay, and if you have like 30-pound line, it'll be more difficult to get on, but I'm sure you could get it done or figure it out or something. So I like fluorocarbon, and I am using 14-pound. And you can do overhand knots, or you could just leave it, or you could tie another polymer knot. Or just leave it, because it's not coming off unless you get it snagged on something. So then, if you have a small hook like that, you can take a robo worm or a finesse worm. I hope I have one. You can do anything that's like finesse with this hook. So you want to just take, this is a robo worm. It's long, just finesse worm, and it's got this little tail. So you take it, and I usually don't use it finesse, and you hook it through the nose of the bait, just like that. So this will make it suspend off the bottom, and your worm will just float out like that. You can use small flukes, just anything that's finesse with that type of hook. So you can take a hook just like this instead of the wide gap. And that one is called an offset hook. This is an offset hook. I don't prefer red hooks, but they're usable. They're just a little bit more visible to the fish, I think. So sometimes your line's stretched out, you want to kind of, or tangled up, you want to kind of stretch it to make it less looped. So you take your hook and you make a loop about that far up 2 feet to 1.5 feet. Just depends how deep you want it or how shallow. If you're fishing water that's 10 foot, and you want it 8 foot, you might want to do like 4 feet of line. And to be honest, I probably did too much, but it is what it is. So again, it's better if you can keep it tight. It makes it easier. But make an overhand knot. If you can. I can't today. Okay. Make your overhand knot. And just tighten it up. And I'm going to tell you something very important right here that you might not think about. So you loop it under, right? And then as you're tightening it up, there's this little loop right here. You want to make sure that you push that up, and you want to also make sure it doesn't get stuck on the eye. So then wet it or whatever, you don't have to. And you have this big tag end line. Long, easily 1.5 feet. So you could take this weight or this type of weight. It really doesn't matter. I'm just gonna use this type. Hook in my finger. So you want to use this type of weight, or it truly doesn't matter. And you want to just clip that off. If you have excess on, which usually you will, it'll just be stuck on it'll be stuck, clamped in. So you take that, and you have your hook, and go all the way to the end. So you can just make a loop, stick it through. Stick it through and just tie a polymer knot or a fisherman's knot, which I also showed you. slide that up, go in, or go around it with the loop, and you want to pull on the main line, not the tag end. Sometimes you can just pull both and it'll do the right thing, but the real thing that you're trying to pull is the main line. And then once you tighten it up fully, just take the line and pull the tag end, because it tightens up a little bit extra sometimes. So now you have your weight and you have your hook. This hook is a little bit better than this hook on this rig, but if you're starting, this hook is much easier to put the worm on right. So then you're going to want to take your worm, now I'll use I don't even know what brand this is. Looks like a speed worm of some sort. You know what? It's not going to be a moving bait, so you kind of don't want to do that. So you go hook it right back through, just like you did with the Texas rig. Slide it up. Actually, this time, instead of hooking it just like you did with the Texas rig, you want to hook a little bit less, like this. And this will be perfect. So you take it, and instead of going all the way through, which you can do, you just take it and go follow the worm with it, and it'll be fine like that, and you have your weight under it, and that's perfect. Alright, so that's how you Texas rig, wacky rig, and drop shot rig. See y'all later.